Fake HOA police came to arrest black man, but he's the most feared FBI agent. Marcus Reed was not a man easily rattled. At 44, he had the look of someone who had lived through storms others couldn't imagine. Broad shoulders under a plain gray t-shirt, steady eyes that carried both patience and fire. On that late afternoon, he stood outside his modest brick home, coffee mug in hand, surveying the quiet neighborhood like he always did. Families were out walking dogs, kids pedaled their bikes down the cul-de-sac, and life seemed perfectly ordinary until the black SUV stopped. The sound of its engine cut through the still air. Doors opened and 3 figures climbed out. 2 bulky men in khaki tactical vests marked community enforcement, flanked a woman in a fitted navy blazer and crisp white blouse. She wasn't in uniform, but the way she walked, the clipboard tight in her grip, the heels clicking sharply made it clear she thought she was in charge. Marcus's instincts sharpened. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched them cross onto his property with the kind of calm that made neighbors freeze. "Marcus Reed," one of the men barked, his voice loud enough for the entire street. Marcus set his coffee mug carefully on the porch railing, eyes never leaving theirs. "Who's asking?" The woman stepped forward before the men could answer. Her blonde hair was pinned neatly back, her lips painted a severe red line. She scanned him from head to toe, then down at her clipboard as though reading a prepared verdict. "You are in violation of multiple community codes," she announced, her voice cold, performative. "Today, that ends. Effective immediately, you are under arrest." Whispers rippled from the sidewalks. Phones rose into the air as neighbors began filming. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his voice slow, steady. "Arrest? For painting my fence?" The woman smirked, tilting her chin up. "Illegal modifications, suspicion of non-compliance, disorderly conduct. We don't need to explain ourselves. You will comply." The men loomed at her sides, one adjusting his sunglasses, the other twirling a pair of steel handcuffs in his gloved hand. But it was the woman's voice, sharp, commanding, dripping with false authority, that filled the space with danger. Marcus studied them. Their uniforms were too new, seams still stiff, their patches crooked. No county seal, no official badge, just bold block letters on cheap fabric. They hadn't even dirtied the boots they wore. Everything about them screamed theater, not law. But the woman, she sold it. She leaned in like a predator who knew the crowd was behind her. "We have witnesses. We have proof. You've been a problem here for too long, and the community has had enough." Marcus's jaw tightened. He wasn't afraid, but he felt anger stirring, not for himself, but for the way she manipulated the scene, turning his quiet street into a spectacle. She was enjoying the fear she thought she commanded. "You've got people watching," Marcus said, nodding toward the phone's recording. "You really want to put on a show?" The woman's eyes glinted. "Exactly. So everyone sees what happens when someone refuses to follow the rules." One of the men stepped forward, snapping the handcuffs open with a metallic click. "Hands out, now!" Marcus didn't budge. His voice dropped low, calm, but carrying weight. "And what rule says you get to walk onto my lawn and play pretend?" The man hesitated, but the woman cut in quickly. "Don't test us, Reed. We're authorized. We can use force, and no one will stop us." Her words struck harder than the men's posturing. She wanted the neighbors afraid, convinced this was legitimate. She wanted Marcus cornered, humiliated. He looked her dead in the eyes. "Authorized by who?" The HOA or the voices in your head? A ripple of laughter escaped from one of the neighbors, quickly silenced when the woman shot them a glare. Her lips curled into a smile, cold, triumphant. Keep joking. In about 5 minutes, you'll be in the back of our vehicle, and when we're done processing you, this entire community will know exactly who you are. Marcus's heart beat steady. He didn't let the anger show, but he felt it, the quiet rage of watching frauds exploit fear. His gaze flicked back to the men. One gripped his taser, the other shifted his weight like he was waiting for her command. Marcus took a step closer, slow, deliberate. The street fell silent. "I'll make this simple," he said, his voice cutting clean. "You're not real. None of this is real." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The woman's smile faltered just slightly. Marcus Reed had lived in this neighborhood for 6 quiet years, mowing his lawn, sipping coffee on his porch, and nodding politely to passers-by. To most of them, he was just a reserved 44-year-old man who kept to himself. What they didn't know, what he never wanted them to know, was that behind those calm eyes lived the record of one of the most feared FBI agents in the country. He had dismantled gangs, pulled apart syndicates, and stared down murderers without flinching. His name, whispered in interrogation rooms, was enough to make hardened criminals fold. He had chosen this suburban street for peace, not recognition. But tonight, his peace was gone. He had just told the impostors the truth. "You're not real." The air seemed to hold its breath. The woman in the navy blazer clung to her clipboard like it was her shield. Her red lipstick curled into a mocking smile as she addressed the neighbors. "Don't listen to him. He's lying. He's dangerous. That's why we're here, to protect you." Marcus's steady gaze didn't move. "Protect them? You're preying on them. You want them to believe your authority. But I've spent 20 years watching real authority in action, and none of you fit the part." The shorter enforcer's eyes darted nervously to the crowd. The taller one clenched the cuffs tighter, but Marcus kept talking, his voice low and commanding. "You think intimidation works? I've looked worse men in the eyes, and they were real. You can't even stand straight in your costume." The crowd stirred, doubt spreading. A woman whispered, "He sounds like he knows what he's talking about." Another man muttered, "That's not HOA, I'm telling you." The woman cut in, her voice sharp, desperate to hold control. "He's twisting this. He has a history. You don't know who he really is." Marcus stepped forward, his frame towering, his tone like steel. "Number, you don't know who I am, but I know exactly who you are. Frauds, pretenders, parasites feeding on fear. And here's the difference between us. When I call someone out, it's not an opinion, it's evidence." He turned, deliberately letting the neighbors hear. "I've led federal raids. I've arrested cartel leaders. I've broken operations so big the news couldn't even print the details. Do you really think I don't know what a real arrest looks like?" Gasps rippled through the street. Phones tilted higher, people whispering. The weight of his words landed. The taller enforcer faltered, sweat rolling down his temple. "Boss," he muttered to the woman, but she cut him off with a hiss. "Don't back down." Her voice cracked at the edges. She raised her clipboard, shouting, "He's making it up. He's nothing but a criminal in disguise." Marcus let the silence stretch. Then calmly he pulled his wallet from his back pocket. From it he held up a leather case, flipping it open with a snap. The gold seal of the Federal Bureau of Investigation gleamed in the evening light. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "I am Special Agent Marcus Reed," he said, voice ringing clear. 20 years with the Bureau. If you doubt me, call the field office. Ask about the man who brought down the HOA syndicate, who infiltrated Kingsman cartel, who put 12 corrupt officials behind bars. My name is feared for a reason." The impostors froze. The shorter man stepped back instinctively. The taller's grip on the cuffs loosened until they dangled uselessly. The woman's face drained of color, but she tried one last stand. This is intimidation. He's abusing power." Marcus's eyes bored into hers. "Number, this is me giving you a choice. Leave this street now, or you'll find out how fast federal charges fall on frauds like you." The crowd erupted, some cheering, others shouting for the fakes to get out. One neighbor yelled, "We're calling the real police." Another added, "And the news?" The woman's facade cracked completely. Her hand shook, and the clipboard slipped from her grip, clattering to the pavement. She spun on her heel and stormed toward the SUV. The two men followed quickly, no fight left in them. The engine roared, and within seconds, the vehicle screeched down the block. Silence lingered, broken only by the pounding of hearts. Then applause. Neighbors clapped, some in awe, some in relief. The man they had thought was just another quiet homeowner had stood unflinching against impostors and revealed himself as something far more. Marcus exhaled slowly, sliding his badge back into his pocket. He picked up his coffee mug from the porch rail, his voice calm, almost casual. "They were never real," he said to the crowd, "and now you know the difference." For years he had kept his identity buried, but today, in front of his entire community, the truth stood plain. Marcus Reed wasn't just a man in a gray T-shirt. He was one of the FBI's most feared agents, and the pretenders had just made the mistake of crossing him. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We'd love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.